Welcome, everybody, to the Heart of the Artist. I am your co host, Whisper Poet. Where's my girl, Catalyst?
Hello.
We are so excited today because we have Tamindu with us. Hey, girl, how are you doing?
I am doing great. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm excited. I ran home for you ladies. I was like, oh, I'm so excited. No, I am. I thank you guys for allowing me to be a guest on your show. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for being here. And it's so great. I can feel your happy energy. It's like making me happy, making me smile. Catalyst is like, yeah. So talk to us about your journey with poetry. How did you get started? Because I've heard you perform, and you are a dope lady. So tell us how you got into this
Oh,
lovely world
thank
of
you.
poetry that we all love so much.
So poetry snuck me, right? I don't know if anyone can share this experience. So what happens is I was going through a life struggle. Financially, I was in a place that I never thought I would be before, and I was like frustrated with life. So I was standing in the train station, and there was a lady that she was handicapped, and she got off at a stop that usually has an elevator, but the elevator was out of service. Anyway, long story short, she was frustrated. She was cursing people out, and I wrote a poem, and it brought me back mentally about the times that I used to have stacks of books of poetry hidden in my closet when I was a teenager and journals. And I had found one. I came home like in search of myself, like, right, like, oh my goodness, I lost myself somewhere. So I take out a bin and I have a whole book of laminated poetry. I mean, the poetry sucked, but it was okay. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, and I remembered myself. Um, and I went to Gotham. I took a like it was before the pandemic, like right before the pandemic hit. It was like February, January. And I took a class, like a workshop. I went to a workshop and the lady she was like, that's spoken word. And I was like, maybe you're right. Like, my mother used to scream at me all the time. So a gift with words and volume and tones, like it came naturally. So, and then I just fell in love with you guys, and you can't get rid of me. I don't care what you say.
Ah, I love it. What's the earliest poem you remember writing?
That is the poem that I wrote in that train station. It's called "A Fight in a Wheelchair," and the poem started with the lady and it ended with me and kind of where am I at in life? I don't understand. And then I learned, so being a poet, I'm so fulfilled, but it doesn't really pay that much. So yeah. Um, but that it gives you love, like you love what you do. It's such a different feeling. And I rather that passion and that love than any money in the world.
Better a full heart than a full wallet,
Yes.
eh? Well, I think I kind of want to hear the wheelchair poem if you're down to share that. That sounds like we need to hear that.
You want me to start with that? I'm gonna have to pull up a file and look. Let me see if I can get off the top of my head.
Well,
Um,
what while
a
so while
fire in a
you're
wheelchair.
while you're looking for that, tell us a little bit about you, like where you're from, what are you
Okay,
into, all the things.
so I am from the Bronx, born, raised, and reproduced here. I am a mother of two children. My son is a young man. Um, and that's a different kind of parenting. Like I'm gonna be honest, like when your child is like a young adult, you worry, but you kind of have to let the strings go, but you don't want to. It's a different kind of fight. So my teenager, I could just be like, no, I don't care what you say, and that's it. With my adult son, I cannot do that. It's something different. Um, but so I used to do HR work, then I fell in love with poetry, and I'm just really trying to make my way in a different direction in life. I had done my first open mic at New York City Poetry Festival? How many of you guys are from New York? I know Marilee is from New York. Anyone else?
Nope. North Carolina.
No. Okay. So there's like a big fest, a big poetry fest that goes on here like every year where people come down from different parts of the world and they perform. There's like a lot of little different stages. So I did my first open mic there. Like I didn't have a baby. I mean, my daughter was with her father that weekend. And if anybody's a mom, you're like, what am I gonna do with myself this weekend? Like, what am I gonna do? Like, am I really gonna stay home and do nothing? So I was searching online and I came across the poetry festival and I did the open mic and I have fell in love with it. So I much rather do spoken word than writing, and that's crazy. I don't know if that's crazy, but yeah, I don't know. It's a different feeling. Do you
And I think
experience
that's
that?
amazing that you're one of your first experiences. That I mean, it had to be a huge crowd.
Well, so there's so many people going on. There's so many stages, right? That everybody's doing poetry at some point. So you have to really kind of try to grasp people, you know what I mean? And then that's a nervous feeling too. It's like, oh man. But it was cool. It's such a beautiful feeling. I love it. It's like the best thing in the world.
I love that you just went for it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you one thing. We're gonna might have to skip on a fight on a wheelchair because God would have it. Like maybe you're gonna do something new today, and that the document is just not opening. I don't understand.
Well, then we got to go with the flow of the universe. Absolutely. So yeah, you pick the one you think we need to hear first.
Perfect. So I have a show coming up, right? And it's like the first one in person in a long time. So it's coming up really soon, and maybe I'll do something from there so you guys could give me feedback. I know Nemo's a dope artist too, so I am, uh, looking forward to what you guys think. So maybe I could do my opening piece and my closing piece. What do you think?
Rock and roll. This is your space, love.
Thank you. So when I was young, I never thought of being a pot without a stove, a mother without a father, but it happened. And let me tell you something, mommy, those nights come heavy. Some days smear into the next, and questions awaken you at 3 o'clock in the morning. Insecurities sit beside you at a school play, and you wonder if the new shoes you bought her make up for the empty chair. Make good of yourself. I remember when it was my mother who danced in the auditorium. Long slides to her family portrait. I bet she felt empty too. Maybe that's why extravagant dresses for days of picture come with so much importance. Perhaps that was the substitute for getting the small package and smiling about it. No mother wants this. Soon, rare days of freedom leave you feeling empty. Emotions and emergencies become a shade of a difference. And you can't understand how this panic attacks you. I bet nobody noticed the pot of rice you have not ate in 2 days. To get her, you come lost, hide in the I'm okay. Really? She's gotten so big, right? Wasn't that the plan in co-parenting though? To put a child first? Or yeah, collected the questions I'm only there to answer. Some days I no longer fit. Not in my old circle of friends, nor tomorrow's dreams. Nobody said the jeans were gonna fit this big. That I would lose myself in the process of becoming someone's mother. And I know that sounds selfish, but the truth is, when you're a mom, you give up everything. Help comes scattered across the kitchen table, and keeping a strong face doesn't come easy, but you'll find a way. You collect the spare change hidden in the lost invitations. You put together puzzles on the living room floor. They'll ask you for 5 more minutes, smile, please. And you give them 10. Smiling doesn't happen sudden, but never give up, ma, because it does. But it's in a child's love that life has true meaning. Poem. I'm gonna do my closing piece. Hello, there was a call at work. Can I speak to? My heart raced. I knew this was one of those calls, because though I've been doing customer service for a long time, it wasn't long before me and her sat across one another. And of course, the way she looking at me, I'm looking at her. And things got a little ignorant, foolish to say. She takes out a picture and I grab the proof I need to show her cheating half a better way. But she said, there's no need to make a fuss about it, because it's not like we still sleeping together. So I'm like, yo, what am I here for? A man finally stops his shit to save his home, and now because those checks ain't coming in, you got something to say, huh? And she's like, but wait, together we be a child. Child, I can't with this hoe. I used the yard to split a cab back, jot her 4 numbers down on the flip side of a napkin, and continue to make my way. I couldn't go back to work though. 60 years too many. My thoughts were loud, louder than any block we could pass. Understand a child arranged 2 new locations. I left my mother's home for this shit. Built the world on the future of my new beginnings. Do you think I know about postpartum depression while maintaining to be a good woman? My home was on the lips of every give it up bitch. Nah, this is not what I signed up for. We get about 2 blocks away. My stomach is in knots. I hand the driver the only money I had left, for I hadn't got paid yet. Make my way up the stairs only to find him resting. I just wanted a loving home, yo, a husband, a companion, a best friend. He's made me a fool again and I can't take it. I kick his foot, get the fuck up, yo. Toss the picture before he could open his eyes. Outtones the neighbor's questions. Furniture gets shuffled across the room. He shakes me like a lady shakes a child. She ain't woman enough to have you, and he thinks because I come in with a loud tone that the shit is acceptable. My body across the frame of every wall, but I won't stop fighting. These voices are loud, and I ain't never met this one before. Stop. It's becoming too much, but he keeps talking and he keeps talking. I said stop. I was getting tired of getting tossed across my home. I run to the kitchen to grab a knife. Nobody's gonna miss him, the voice said. I said, stop. It's becoming too much. I don't know how I got this arm, but the knife landed in his hand. He dragged me from the kitchen through the hallway to my living room floor. Threw his 210 pounds across my ribs, and I really don't know how much he fucking weighed, but it weighed like an elephant bearing my breath. And somewhere between the noise, the wall, and the floor, I cut myself. This didn't happen on purpose, but that didn't stop the stain or the stitches. My home, my walls, who have I become? He pulls both hands over me. The tip of his knife was the only thing I could see. There was a conversation with God. Wait. A love letter to my son. I said no. A pause moment in time. And I just wanted him to stop, yeah. Oh, my heart to any domestic survivor. And I thank you guys for allowing me to be here with you. I always want feedback because I'm a greedy bitch. And you know what I'm saying? I thank you guys.
Okay, well, you made me cry with both of them, so that's my feedback. That's pretty
Thank
damn good
you.
feedback.
You
Very powerful.
you
Thank
have
you.
such an amazing ability to take this narrative that I mean, I feel like you were literally relaying this is what happened. This is what went on. But you've turned that into a poem. You've made it a poetic journey, but it's hard to hear, right? Because you're not speaking in metaphor. You're not speaking theoretically. You're speaking on things that, they happened. And it's just hard to hear that. It's hard to picture, that situation. Um, and I'm glad you're not in that situation anymore.
Thank you so much. Sometimes you don't know you're in a situation till you're in the situation. So I think, yeah, I I thank God that at least now that I have the ability to talk and let someone else maybe like know that sometimes you're in an unhealthy situation, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm thankful to God for a spoken word. Like I love poetry. It's like my best job.
Do you think poetry contributed to your ability to get out of the situation?
No. All the way honest. No. I had I didn't know that I was like kind of depressed afterwards because I had to just keep going and like being a mom and going to work and like coming home and like you know what I mean. So like, and then I found myself doing things that I would have never done in my right state. Like you know what I'm saying. So that happened, and then because sometimes you don't give yourself opportunity to talk about something, you just like kind of continue to live life. It wasn't until that I don't know if I'm healed, but I started to find healing. Like I started to like understand that there's certain situations in my life that occur because I wasn't healed from whatever happened in the past. And when I started to realize that, I was able to talk about things more. You know what I mean? And then I was like, well, to be honest, talk about it in my poetry because it was hard to talk about it, like because you become vulnerable, you become at an irritable state, then you relive that as flashbacks. You know what I'm saying? So, I found poetry allowed me to really express that, but that was after I committed to finding healing.
So you literally wrote your way into wholeness.
I numbed my way, right? Because I was a mom, so I was just like, all right, like just keep living life and like do what you have to do. And it wasn't until like I started breaking down to God, like, I don't understand why I feel this way. Like something wasn't right, you know what I mean? And then he led me to poetry because I was like, I got all these jobs, but none of it feels good. Like none of it, like, So he led me to poetry and it's just the best feeling ever. And then you sit back and you hear other people's journey and you're like, damn, like yeah, I could relate and I can't relate and I can't imagine and you could like you become like a community or it's a family and people you don't even know you never like even met before, and I found that's beautiful.
So, what was the first piece that you wrote after that relationship ended and you were free and independent?
um I'm going to say that was I page of words. If anybody knows that piece of mine, I wrote that after that relationship. And people, and there's still so much that I didn't even write because people don't know I actually had to literally leave my home with my son and like live in other people's places. And it was like the most craziest thing. But an I Page of Words was the first time that I actually like I tiptoed around who he was. You know what I mean? I was like, look, I'm gonna just put this motherfucker out there because I'm not gonna hold this no more.
Well, if you have access to that poem, I would love to hear that.
Oh, that one I know by heart too.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you guys. I Page of Words reflect the wounds that lead me to a path of self-neglect. I wake up, roll over, scream at God, and wish for a new life. He must be so sick of me by now. There was a knock at the door. I opened the door to find a man who said nothing. The silence of a man usually confuses me, wondering what scars can he deliver on this bright Sunday. Where is he? I don't know. He doesn't live here anymore. I had never seen this man, but better than I to ask him who he was or who the fuck he spoke of. I knew. I knew this had to be brought forth by a man that drags the pain of me while I kick and I scream, leaving me to look like I lack sanity. He turns the corner, unzips and spreads, leaving babies hidden underneath the breath of yet another. Like, come on. Blessings turn siblings that we ain't never speak of. The same man yells, Ma, I love you, while he drags the pain of me yet through another corner, and I, the fool that takes on every woman he dares to spread. And that left my reputation to slither. I learned though. I did. I learned the bone she choked on reshaped me. Shaped the appearance of a woman I've never met. Pride and self-respect just a little lost. I view her abandoned, curbside by the same cycles. The same people that watch me grow from the strength of single hands. Now watch me fall. Fall for a man who has made me the outlets to his wounds, the markings to his bearings have left me to heal. And I, the fool, don't I know better? Wasn't my hero a reflection of the same, choking women's by the strings of his imperfections? I hold her picture to the wall daily, as if viewing the young girl she grew from. Allow me to get to know the woman she became. But it didn't. Flashbacks of feelings, days I cried so hard, my unborn child gathered itself in knots, striking me with the same pain that I passed down. The silence of a man usually confuses me, wondering what scars can he deliver on this bright Sunday. He lifts the right of his shirt, and he shows me his gun. My son, who barely has the experience of walk, holds the back of my leg, knee high, not even two yet. And I find phone to ring morning, silently praying for the day that this man no longer returns. That was the first time that I wrote about it. Thank you guys.
What advice would you give to someone who is in an abusive relationship and is trying to figure out how to navigate all of that?
First I want to give prevention advice. There were small things that I noticed in him that I overlooked. You know what I mean? Because I love my father. He's been with God like 20 years. So sometimes it hurts to talk about it. Like, but my father had he was an addict and he had a little bad habits. And I remember him like one time like um being abusive with his wife. You know what I'm saying? So that, and my mother was in a domestic in a domestic relationship. So there's like little signs, right? So my best advice is that when you notice the signs, if he is, because sometimes, right, that man might sugarcoat it for the first year. He might like really, really, and I don't even know how they do that. And then turn a monster over, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know how that happens. But so what I would suggest is how he's treating someone else is he's gonna treat you in the same manner in some point in your relationship. Like at some point he's gonna what he's done to someone else he's gonna do to you. And so now if you're already in that situation, whatever you need to do, wherever you need to go, sometimes you need to leave your own home. Like that was my place. I had worked 2 jobs when I was pregnant and I had to leave my own place. Like, you know what I mean? And that sometimes, and that sounds sickening, but that sometimes hurt more. I was like, damn, like I literally don't got nowhere to go and I work and I got my own place. I can't, and I wasn't even safe, so I had to not be there. So what I would say is even if it's uncomfortable, it's only gonna be uncomfortable for a little while if you get out. If you stay, it's gonna be uncomfortable until you know what I mean? Until you get out, or who knows? A lot of women die. Like you don't, and life is not guaranteed. You don't know what that man is gonna do to you. You know what I mean? So, what I would say is sometimes hide the address of your relatives, of a friend, of whoever, he don't need to know everything
Yeah.
respectfully, because you need a safe place also. And I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yeah. That is, I don't know what
I'm
the
so sorry.
statistics are. I don't know what the statistics are on domestic abuse, but I know it's high. Um, and I can't imagine how hard it is to be in that situation and to need to leave, want to leave, and be trying to figure out how do I do this? How many women stay because they don't have the resources to get out. Maybe they're maybe
Yeah.
maybe they're stay at home, and feel like they
Yeah.
don't have marketable skills to get a job. And the way that real estate and rent has increased in price, how many people are now staying in situations that they maybe wouldn't have stayed in otherwise because they literally cannot afford to do anything else?
I was having that conversation. I'm so glad you said that, Whisper, with my daughter, right? Because in reality is I wanna the same way I wanna and work and take care of his family, I wanna train my daughter the same way, respectfully, right? So I told her there was a time we couldn't even vote. There was a time, like, look at how long it is, and we're only having my internet connection is unstable. Can you hear me, guys? No.
Yes. Yeah, you were good.
So I was trying to explain them. You guys hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're
The
okay. We
internet.
got you. We must be whirling because we can see you and hear you.
All right, perfect. So
Yeah.
all right, cool. So it was on my end. I was explaining to my daughter that it's important that even when you grow up and your husband has a great career and he makes money, all that's beautiful. But you need to have an education and you need to have a good career and you need to make sure that you're able to provide for your children and do great things by them, and that is perfectly fine to do so. It's okay for a woman to have things and it be completely hers, and that is perfectly fine. So I think we should train our daughters the way we train our sons, you know what I mean? To go out in life and be everything they could be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. How old are your kids?
So my son just turned 23 and my daughter's 14.
So your son, what is that? I can't do math in my head right now. I'm tired. What is that? 11 years? Yeah, 11 years age different or 9? I can't add.
They're about
Either
they're
way,
9.
Either way, basically they're a
That's all
decade.
right. No, you were there. It's
Yeah.
not.
But they're basically a decade apart. Now
Yes.
that must be interesting because is that so do they kind of do they have that generational difference of like a different outlook on things, or are they close enough that they still kind of have that same because you have like Gen Y and Gen
So
Z and
when
they're
I
like
started
these
like having
patterns, right?
babies a decade apart,
Yeah.
and that's interesting to think of. I never really thought of it like that. So my fear was they were so many years apart, they wouldn't have anything in common.
Mhm.
But they came from the same woman, so they have
Yeah.
everything in common. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They have the same headache, the same upbringing, the same everything.
Like I'm 13 and 14 years older than my two sisters, so we have that connection, right? But they
Oh
I don't know
yeah,
if I don't know if you would call it a different generation because they're not quite old enough to be like my daughters, but there's definitely some differences there, especially like in terms of technology, the approach to technology. I mean, there's some real differences there, um,
yeah.
between like how I approach things and how they approach things. This is kind of interesting. I think they're right on the end of because I think I'm Gen X and I think they're right on the tail end of Gen X. So they have a little bit of that Gen Y. They're like a crosser. They're like the cusp. They're a cusp baby.
Ah,
So
that's
do you have
interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
because so when you were growing up, they had, I don't know if you had like beepers. You had like beepers growing up. Like my kids are like, what is a beeper? I'm like, that's what I had. We had beepers,
We
you
had
know?
beepers, yes. Yes, we did. We had the beepers, but I wasn't even an early
Yes.
adopter of that. I was like way, at the tail end of the whole beeper revolution. I finally got one, it's like, oh wow, this thing is really
Oh
convenient.
yeah.
But like my friends were doing that whole, beeper, beeping each other. And like I think the booty call literally came about because of beepers, right? Was there even a booty
Yes,
call
it
before
did.
there were
We
beepers?
used to send yes. We used to send numbers, right? And you would turn your beeper upside down and then you would read like messages like, hey boo, meet me at like, you know what I mean? Oh my goodness. Yeah, that is so crazy.
Yeah, and
And
I
then
know how to get
everybody
that
had a,
load.
and then I remember this guy was like, oh, but you need a different code because somebody else got it. I was like, well, I won't be calling you then.
So, do you have like your mom or any aunts or cousins? Do you have extended family around you that are you're close with?
Oh, I have a humongous family. So my father has 11 siblings.
Wow.
He's one of 11. You know, back in the day, they had a lot of sex. You know what I mean? And my mother is one of 9. So I have cousins galore. And I guess when we were younger, we would spend more time. But you know, when you get older, you have your own kids and your own life. But yeah, they near. Every once in a while, we'll throw a party and everybody, just because, and everybody will come. You know what I mean?
So when you became interested in poetry and began really doing this and doing open mics and just kind of immersing yourself into that, um, was your family overall supportive of it, or were they kind of like, "What are you doing?"
So at first, I was like, so there's a story. I Page of Words was supposed to be a book. That poem I just did,
Okay.
I've written it in a book, right? And then I was scared to publish it. I never published it because I was scared of what my son would think, and I kept asking him permission and then hiding it through the years. And then I remember him finding it one time, and we got into an argument about it. And I was like, shit, like I'm not gonna be able to ever tell my story. And then I remember one day I said, look, this kid is gonna be big. He's gonna have a wife one day, he's gonna have a kid, he's gonna have a career. I have to tell my story. You know what I mean? So there were some things that I still didn't want to put in poetry because of my family. I wanted to protect my father's name, but I'm like, he loves me. He's in heaven. He knows, like, all of it is true. I'm not lying. You know what I mean? He was an amazing man, but still, when he was in the attic, he went through with things. And I think that it's okay for you to tell your story. And if your family really loves you, then they need to understand that that's your story. And whether you fight about it or not, you're gonna have to get over it because I'm gonna speak my truth, and that's it. Like.
I love that.
Thank you.
Um, I love that, and I mean, maybe on the one hand, it can provide some tension and some difficulty, but maybe it also gives an opportunity for healing, right? That might not have been there, otherwise if you had not spoken yet that truth.
Absolutely. And it gives them permission. So whether it's uncomfortable for them when they get older, or go through similar situations, God forbid, never, they'll see that it's okay for you to speak your truth. It's okay to be heard. It's okay to, like, something bad happened to you. You don't have to hide in the closet about it. You need to speak up so it doesn't happen to somebody else. So I hope that that's what they get from it.
Have you ever gone through a period where you've you've gotten so into poetry world and your poetry friends and community that it almost feels like your family doesn't get you, like you're just like, I don't know what to do with you guys because I'm now way over here and you guys are way back there, and it's like this disconnect that you never had before.
Yes. Yes, so sometimes I go to poetry events by myself, right? And if you ever see me there, it's like they're like, "Why you here?" I think, right? Sometimes I'm on the train. I'm like, "Damn, people must be thinking I'm so weird going to these events by myself because I'm always by myself." And I'm glad you asked that. It's because my friends and family don't like poetry. They like, they'll say they're supportive and sometimes they show up and that's amazing. But we don't share that in common. And so sometimes you meet new friends, you know what I mean? And that's cool. It's a new life. It's a new, I don't know, it's a new thing in your life. And that's cool. You know what I mean? I remember my friend was like, well, uh, sh like we were talking about new careers, right? Because I have been at a job a long time, and I was like in this transition, like in my head, like, no, I'm a poet now, and this is gonna be my life. And she was like, well, how much money can you really make from selling a book? And I felt that blow, like, that lack of support, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I was like, well, look, if you go to work every day and you make this much amount an hour, that's beautiful for you. You know what I mean? I'm not telling you what to do with your life. But if I pursue this, I know that's a thing within my bucket list in life. Like, you became that. Nobody's gonna ask me, "Oh, Tabitha, how much money did you make off of it?" Am I fulfilled? Am I happy? Did I use my creativity? Did I help someone else in that process? You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna have people that not necessarily are supportive of you being whatever kind of artist. Um, and I remember them questioning that too, like, "Oh, you a poet? That's not really an artist." And it was like, "Yo, shut up. Like, you don't even know what you're talking about right now." Like, you know what I'm saying? Um, but I use that as fuel to understand that you don't have the same interests as everyone else, and that's a good thing. Like, that is a good thing. And creativity. And don't worry who supports you, who don't support you. Show up for yourself. So I had a lot of nights like that. Like, all right, I'm gonna go to this event. It's late. I'm tired, but I'm gonna show up for myself. I'm gonna hear other artists. I'm gonna hear my craft. I'm gonna invest in myself. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's how I looked at it.
I love that. I feel like, and I'd be curious to hear if you feel this the same way. I feel like before I discovered poetry and began really embracing the poetry community and making it kind of like the center of my social universe, that I had good intentions to be a good person and do the right thing, but sometimes my actions were out of alignment with how I wish to be, and then like you go to church or do whatever, and you kind of feel that gap between, how you should be and how you really are, or how you've been, you know what I mean? And so like now I feel like having like an immersion in poetry has me closer
Yeah.
to my ideal, like my highest vibe. I'm living closer to my highest frequency. I'm living within my spirit. I'm living within my intentions. And I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm perfect or anything like that, right? But I'm closer to who I want to be, to who I
Yes,
feel like I should be. Is that, yeah,
that connects so well. That's kind of like what I was saying earlier, where you know, it's a different kind of fulfillment. It's a different kind of like a ease within your soul. Like, like I'm actually doing something that I'm supposed to be doing in life. And um it's just an amazing feeling, I thank you so much for even mentioning that, because it is a process, it is a journey of finding to be okay with yourself and this new person that you kind of invented or found, because you always had it within yourself. So like, being in tune with your creativity. And sometimes that might be a lonely process, like you were just saying, that doesn't include every friend you ever had or every cousin, or you know what I mean. So you really have to be okay with finding this new you and expressing that.
yeah,
And I think that's a beautiful journey. Um, I think everybody should find that in life, because everybody is called to do something different in life. And at first you feel uncomfortable or intimidated, but it's really just, you're just anxious and e- expecting this new journey in life. And it's beautiful.
I think is that aspect of it is maybe why sometimes it feels like it's hard to like relate to the people that we've been close to in the past. Like when I think about my poet friends as a whole, I don't really find y'all to be petty. Like we're not always petty, complaining about other people. I mean, what, every now and then, whatever, but just in general, just I feel like we're just on that a little bit, maybe a little bit of a higher vibe, because we're always talking about spirit. We're writing about spirit. And I feel like when you write about spirit, it's easier to live in spirit. And I feel like it's hard to explain that to people who aren't interested in poetry. Like it's how do you explain that to someone that this writing that we're doing is helping us live more fully within our chi? I don't know what the right words
Yeah.
are. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it is, especially if that person. So there are people that are creative beings. There are people that are creative and spiritual beings. There are people that are like, they may work with their hands, and they're not in tune uh, with their emotional side or creative side or any of that thing. So that's sometimes hard. And like explaining that to somebody that is not in tune with that in their self, I find that sometimes they're always trying to, I don't want to say put you down, or like, but minimize these goals or achievements in your life, because this is a beautiful achievement that you guys have, this platform where you allow, artists to come on and express themselves and be in tune with the community. So some people have done that. If they don't have that happiness in their life, it is hard for them to give you that. and they may not even know that they're unhappy, because some money does not buy happiness, so they may think that everything is good, but when they see you living in your passion, it disturbs their peace. It does. So you just have to be comfortable in the process of knowing that everybody is not supposed to be on this journey with you.
So how does that
People
translate
can only
into
meet you as far as they can meet themselves. Yes.
that is true.
Yeah.
That's some truth right there. They don't say that again. They can only meet you as far as what?
She wrote as they meet themselves.
As they meet, yes. I need to memorize that because that's some serious truth right there. How does that translate into dating?
Ooh, so dating is not really comfortable right now. I'm glad you said that. I didn't know we were gonna get this personal on this interview. um, I had a thing where this guy thought I should just write about him, and I don't think he understood that if I just write about him, that's not healthy, because if I wrote about him, it's because he didn't, he did something to hurt me. So I'm that kind of writer. And then you have people will that think that you should own me, or like, um there was this gentleman like, oh, well, you just wrote a book of poems, like, and it was like, that's kind of insulting, because the way you just put it, it was like, you know you put your whole heart into a poem. Every poem has a part of you, your journey, your process, your creative being, your hurts, your whoever that is. And if somebody doesn't understand that that is an emotional process to put part of yourself on a page, that is, but you kind of learn who people are. So you learn that there are certain things and certain people that are not for this particular part of your life, or like, not part of your life, but your poetry journey or your writing journey or things of that nature.
Well, I have the solution for the dude who wanted you to spend all of his your time writing about him. I have the solution. I have the answer to that. It's called the Zap Racket.
Tell
They're
me.
available at a store near you. You need a Zap Racket.
Yes. Yes. You definitely do need to keep them at hand. That's I'm glad you're asking all these questions, because it is an emotional process, Whisper. It is. It definitely is.
Do you feel like your heritage? I'm making an assumption that you are a Latina, that you have Latina heritage. Yeah. So, do you feel
Yes,
like
I
this?
am Puerto Rican, I am Cuban, and I am Irish.
Wow, you've got some interesting influences there, and the food culture. I'm such a food person. Like anytime somebody tells me what their heritage is, I'm automatically like, oh, so what kind of food do they cook? Straight to the food.
Oh, yes. So,
Girl,
so
you
how
got
does my
carbs covered.
heritage
You
influence?
got carbs covered. Irish, you got the potatoes. Latina, you got rice. You got the carbs covered.
I do. It's hard to lose weight like that and be thin. Um, it is. So every time I want to eat bread. I want to eat rice. I want to eat pasta. I want to eat all these things that just stay with you for so long. Um, and then you feel like you kind of have to eat them sometimes because it's part of your heritage. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that. So I'm such a foodie. I love food. I love culinary arts. I love it.
Do you have
And
any
it's
poems
hard
about
to
food?
sometimes now make the process of eating healthier.
Truth. Truth.
So I have a poem that is part of the Bronx, and it mentions like the coquito man that's outside and some about bodegas, because I always get the question about chop and cheese. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's your favorite bodega on the chop and cheese? And I'm like, we eat other things here. Like, we got conchifritos, we got pizza shops, we got, all this beautiful thing. Some of my favorite food is the Chino Latinos though, the Cubanos. I love like some fried rice. I love rice in every form. So I love sancocho and soups and all the Spanish food all the time. But I love pizza as a street food. Like that's one of my favorite fast foods. Like grab a slice real quick with some extra sauce and keep
Did
it
I
moving.
did I hear you say there's a coquito man?
Oh man, yes. There's does anybody know also piraguas? So it's like this crushed ice, and then you put like cherry juice or coconut juice, and then the coquito man. They always like one is on one corner and one is like down the block, and you have to make a decision which one could you afford that day because you really want both of them because they
Yeah,
taste so good. You know what I mean?
I love coquito. I love it. I don't know how to make it, but I love it.
Yeah.
I've had it a couple of times. Oh gosh, I was like, this is
Oh,
amazing.
so you're talking about the drink.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the drink is amazing.
So is
Yeah, it
there a
is.
food that's
That is a
coquito as well?
family tradition also. It's a icy. There's a coquito icy.
Oh, okay.
It is
Nice.
delicious. So it
Oh, I
comes
bet
like
it
in a
is.
little cup,
Oh,
and it's the same flavor of like the coquito you drink, but without alcohol. It is delicious, and the ices in them. Oh man, you taste the real coconut. It's delicious.
oh, it sounds incredible. So you have that, and then so you've got Cuban food, you've got Puerto Rican food, you have Irish food. Do you have like recipes in your family from all of these origins?
Well, I don't know nothing about cooking Irish food.
Mhm.
My Irish family likes Italian food. I have no idea why. Like, except for one of my aunts, she used to do like a real, yeah, like apparently they used to make like real corned beef, but in the Spanish side of my family, we ate that shit from a can. Like, it was really like it's such a difference in culture. You know what I'm saying? I remember being little, right? And I went to my aunt's house and they were having spaghetti with sausage. And I was like, oh, like I like that. My mom puts it in the rice. And she was like, in the rice? Like, who puts it in the rice? And I was like, oh, that's what we do on the other side. Like, So it was beautiful too, because I'm such a foodie. So I like to eat things in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was different. I love being from like a mixed heritage because I love food and I love people. So like I find a connection with them, especially like you know what I mean, in that way, and having different races with them and myself.
So how does it any of that lend itself to your writing?
How does it? So it's funny that you say that. I'm gonna be really honest because being like so I don't necessarily to some people don't look Spanish, right? So sometimes talking about certain things in the beginning of writing was a little intimidating because it was like, well, regardless of what you say, I do come from different nationalities. So it was like, do I have the permission to write about certain things? And it was like, well, fuck you. I don't need permission. I am who I am. So that is a process of learning yourself and just being okay with who you are.
Mhm. Do you feel like you have a cultural voice within the poetry community?
I do. So I love the New Rican Poets Cafe. Um, they are temporarily down for repair, but I've met so many of my beautiful Latino sisters and brothers there, with a voice also. Um, so I definitely do, and I love to be part of my community. You know what I mean, and represent the culture. Um, at first it is tricky, like for people to understand that sometimes your hair color is different or the last name comes different, but you still of your mother's child, you know? So that's also an interesting process. And sometimes it's a shock for someone else. And it's like, I don't understand what you're so surprised at. There's mixed people all over the world, you know what I mean? So that is it was a process. It was definitely a process. I thank you so much, Whisper, for even asking that.
What do you want your legacy or your footprint to be in the poetry community? Do you feel like there's something that you can leave a permanent piece of yourself within it? And what does that need to be?
My legacy. That is such an interesting question because that is a question that I have within myself. Like, if God forbid you left tomorrow, not even with the community poetry, but in life, you know, what would they remember about you? So I tried to gather within myself, like, what would they remember? I want to say, so my aunt made a little joke, right? And she was like, "Ay, Tabby, you so much like your father, like you don't give a shit about nothing. Just you just say what it is." And I hope that they'll remember that. I hope that they'll remember the times that I was emotional to or sensitive to help, or I hope they remember the creative side. Like, you know, I hope that my legacy is every bit and part of who I actually am, and not just one thing. You know, I don't want people to remember me just for sad poetry or angry poetry or anything. I want them to remember me for being, you know, in tune, like diverse, outspoken, and just not one thing, just everything. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe spunky, funky, creative. I have no idea. I hope to really get more in tune with all the things that I remembered as a child. Like, I want to also bring my clothing up, so maybe people will remember me for that. Like, I hope that what they really remember is that the courage to speak up in any way, even when it was uncomfortable. I hope that that is part of it. I don't know. And I want to come back and help my community. First, I know that I have to leave in order to come back and help, but I want to also do that. So what they remember me for is whatever they choose to, you know what I mean? I just hope that I get to do everything that I'm called to do in this life.
Yeah, I love that because just because you're called doesn't mean that it's easy to actually execute it. You know, you maybe feel called to do something, but maybe you don't have the logistics to do it very easily, or maybe you don't have the financial resources to do it very easily, or the support, you know, that you need. That I mean, it's like being called is hard to fulfill it. Like just because you know it, just because you emotionally received it is not enough, right? You still have to do it, and that's hard.
Yeah. It is. And I find that fear actually keeps us from a lot of things. Being fearful keeps us from sometimes taking the next step. And I hope that we overcome that even in our creative process of writing. Because there's some things I'm like, do I write about that? Like, why should I, like, I don't know, like, you know, it's sometimes scary to share these things with other people. And Yeah, so I want the courage to be able to do those things because fear try to keep you from your next step, your next accomplishment. It definitely will.
Yeah. You've mentioned a couple of times about wanting to feel like it's okay for you to address certain topics. And I know I feel like poetry should be like any other artistic space where you should be able to express your point of view and that other people who hear it should not get triggered over it because you're doing your art. It's artistic, right? It's not like you're standing on the corner, going on and on about some political agenda, right? You are doing art, and people need to give space, hold space for that. But it's hard to give up that whole thing of, is it okay to point this out? Is it okay to say this?
It is. So first you have to completely forgive yourself for whatever thing you have done or have not done yet, and then just write about it. And I learned that you'll find so many other people are looking for the same permission to say, hey, this is what I went through and this is what I'm gonna share. And so I love that about spoken word, right? Because it's one thing to read it on a page. But when you hear somebody's voice and you hear the anger, you hear the hurt, you hear the fear, or you just hear, and I love comedians too, because you know what I mean? So it is such a thing that you have to understand, that you have to forgive yourself for everything that you have not expressed yet, and then give yourself the permission to express it. And whether someone agrees with you or not, that is no longer of your interest, because you understand that this is for you. This is to let it out. This is to heal you. This is to help you. And who cares what they say?
Yeah, I think uh, that's the same point of view um, that I have. But as an example, I visited New York in June, and being from the South, um, born and bred, raised in the South, I thought it would be cute when I did open mic to sort of highlight, Southerner comes to New York, and some of the funny experiences. And like, I'm a big woman. I'm a big girl. New York is made for little people. Like, New York is made for small people with narrow hind ends. That's all I'm saying. And so I thought, well, this would be funny to kind of sort of poke fun at myself, on the mic. And I was gonna do some perform, and it really wasn't a poem. It was more comedy, I think, than anything else. But I was gonna talk about grits, because grits are a thing that people are like, they've never had it. If they're not from the South, it's almost like they've never had it. And I thought that would be cute, and my cousin was like, no, you should not do that. And I was like, what, why? And he said, It's because grits are viewed as a very polarizing thing here. It's considered to be a part of Black culture, and it's you don't it would be viewed as you like co-opting someone else's story. And I was like, but how can I co-opt a story that's already my own? Like, I don't understand. And so I didn't do the piece that I had written. And honestly, I've been feeling some kind of a way about that all this time. It's like there's room for all of us to have something as our own culture.
Yeah.
And so that's where I was going with the freedom that when we're expressing our art, we should have the freedom to express it however we wish to do so, and I definitely agree that we should never co-opt something that doesn't belong to us. But if it belongs to you and it belongs to me, we can both claim it. There's room for both of us to claim it and to have our experience of it be different.
That's true what you say, I have there's a poem that I have. It's really, really long. And there's certain parts that I will not read unless I am in the Spanish culture.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that is not from may look at me like I'm being disrespectful. Somebody that recognizes that I am from the culture understands that I am expressing my experience. So there are some pieces that I will literally edit and narrate right on the spot. Like, all right, I gotta do this piece, I gotta take this piece out. And it's really, it don't even have nothing to do with you, because I know that because you're not from my culture, you see me as like somebody that's not from the South sees that as disrespectful because they're not from, and you know because you're there. So that might be a piece where you use for the South mostly. Like, so what I'm saying is there's a piece that I literally will not, there's a chunk that I will not read unless I'm in the Latino culture, because someone else may see me and not recognize me to be of my own heritage and may find that offensive, and they're not even from my heritage. Like that shit tripped me the fuck out. But so I just learned like, all right, there's certain things that I know are for certain audiences. You know what I'm saying? And I guess like even if I love to cook, right? So I learned right when I was younger. You asked me how does my culture affect my poetry. It even affects like when I cook. I love to do events, so I will make certain menus for certain people because I learned if they weren't from that culture, they could not appreciate that taste. Like there's something within them that didn't allow them to even look at it appealing, like or like with interest is what I should say. So I learned that there's certain things in life that are for certain people, for certain audience, for certain like ages, for certain things. And it is sometimes like, damn, it's a little frustrating. So don't feel upset with yourself, Whisper. Understand that certain people, they ain't from the South. So they're not gonna look at it something like from the South. She know like an experience, they're gonna look at it offensive, but it's okay. That's why it's good to have a lot of different pieces, like a lot of different things, you know what I mean? So you could say either fuck it and spit it anyway and see what they say. And you just take it, whatever. Or you could spit one of your other favorite pieces. So what open mic did you go to? And what part of New York did you come to visit?
Let's see. My cousin lives in Manhattan, and we went to Hell's Kitchen. We went to a gay bar and had an absolutely fantastic time. We shut it down. We were there until 4 a.m. and came home and ate some food and then fell asleep. So it was great. Had a fantastic time.
Okay.
Yeah. Was what's the name of it? Flex NYC. They're so much fun.
That's good.
And let's see, where else did I go? It was pretty much oh, I did go to another open mic, but I don't know what borough it was in. It was one that Jane Spoken Word had found and had told me about. And I got to meet up with her and Terry Rose Jertson, and the three of us sat down. There's like a little library slash cafe right near Nuyo. You probably know the one I'm talking about. Jane told me about it because I guess it's right there where she lives, and I guess she lives beside Nuyo or something. The internet is not cooperating with us. She's frozen.
Jane spoken
There,
word, Jane?
yeah, I think your internet's going on strike, love. It's like I've had enough.
I went to
There it goes.
one of her auditions. Oh, internet.
Yep, we lost her. Darn it.
So close.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure she'll come back in
I'm gonna pause.
and open. Jane had recommended an open mic, and Terry Rose Jertson and Jane and I hung out at this little bookstore slash place that I guess is near Nuyo. And then Terry had a car, so she drove us to wherever this open mic was. And we went over bridges. So I think we left whatever borough we were in to be near Nuyo. I guess we left that borough and went to another borough, but which one we went to, I couldn't tell you. But it was fun. It was a fun little open mic, and I had a great time. Um, just really, really thoroughly enjoyed being in New York, and I can't wait to go back. Definitely have get now that I have connected with you even deeper. When I come back to New York, we definitely have to hook up and spend some time.
Oh, that's good.
We'll definitely go find a mic. But it was interesting because I did do a mic in Manhattan. I did a mic in Manhattan, and then I did the mic wherever that other
Damn.
shoot.
My places. I hope
There we go. I see you now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So what I was going to tell you about the two open mics that I got to go to. One of them was in New York, Manhattan. The other one was in New York, unidentified borough. Not sure which one it was. And there was such a cultural difference. The one that I went to, wherever it was very more like I think of All of Us poets being very laid back and sort of free spirit and just sort of eclectic. The place was eclectic, the folks were eclectic, and the Manhattan mic was I don't know, they were just very like upper middle class white people, like just I don't know, they were very they did not seem in
Oh,
touch with like the
you went to the wrong places.
it was interesting. I mean, I'm so glad that I got to do both mics, but
I am so sorry you went to the wrong places. The
yeah,
next time you come down, call me.
I will. But that mic in Manhattan, like some of the things that some of the people were saying in their poetry was
Yeah.
I felt like there were they were being a little bit racist. Like they didn't think they were, but the things that they said were like they were referencing stereotypical cultural things, but they were doing it for humor.
Oh no.
And I was like, that's
I
icky.
know.
I don't feel good about that. I don't feel good listening to that. How
I
can you feel
never.
good about saying that?
Yeah.
So I felt like they were a little out of touch with
I don't
the real
understand people.
world.
Yeah, I don't understand these people with this hatred in their heart. I mean, how can we be in this day and age and you don't like somebody because of the color of their skin? That is the most ridiculous thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Imagine we all walked around looking at like the same person. Life would be so boring. Like everybody would look like each other. That's so. I'm sorry that you had that experience.
Yeah.
And whoever took you to those places that they like, if they went there on a regular basis, I would take note of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I, yeah, I definitely
They're
don't go to those
they're
places. And
ones
I'm
that I
sorry you had
found
that
on
kind of
my own.
experience.
They're ones I found on my own because I didn't know any better. I was just like, open mic poetry, Google New York City. Okay, what are the options? Where can I go? And
Yeah, I
so
got
that
you.
one, that one in Manhattan. Now, they were mostly comics and not poets,
Okay.
right? And so I was trying to to kind of assimilate that because I've never been like kind of in a group of comics before. They have a very different vibe than poets do. You know, it's a very
I
different
I
vibe.
love comedy.
Yeah,
So
I do
that
too.
I like rude comedy. I like cultural comedy. I learned too that there are different type of also there are different like going to the city, there are different spots with
Hmm.
different people. Like some of them are uppity and some that are really, really like cool and down to earth. Those are kind of my spots. I like them. Sometimes they're little holes in the wall, sometimes they're restaurants. There's the Spanish restaurant up too far on Fordham Road. And every Tuesday night in the summer, they have it open for comedy. And me and my sister went, we ate the whole menu. And we cracked up, we had a good time. And I actually at a workshop, uh, met a comedian at a workshop at a writing workshop. She was working on her skit, like, and I find that so amazing about writing. You could sit next to a playwright, a comedian, um, an actor, like, you know what I mean? Writing brings so many people together because it's so diverse and it has such a huge space for different personalities. I love that about writing.
Yes, that is so true. And you know, maybe I've painted them harshly because they are comics, and comics, you know, kind of do go into like some areas that could maybe be a little uncomfortable for anybody else to go into. But I don't know. It just left me feeling a little squidgy between the shoulders about it. The other thing I noticed, Manhattan seems to be the borough of purebred dogs. Like everybody's got their purebred dog and they're like walking their purebred dog. What is that about?
You went to the east side. I don't even know who you know, but they had a lot of money because over here we got pit bulls. Like, I don't know where you went. Oh man, the neighbor's pit bull, they got him like I want to say a year ago. He's bigger than some of their kids. I'm like, how does that happen? What did you feed this dog? He's like brolic. Like everybody's leftover food he ate. You know what I mean? So it
Like,
depends side you went. The east side is a different experience. If you go to the city next time, go to the west side. It's much more down to earth. It's much more least expensive. I mean, not least expensive, but less expensive too. Like the east side is very more uppity.
yeah.
It's very uppity.
Well, I did, I did. There are all these people walking these purebred dogs, and they're not purebred dogs like the ones like. I didn't see a Labrador Retriever, right? I saw like
Uh-huh.
these exotic looking ones, and I would be like, oh, you know, I that's a beautiful dog. Is that a blah blah blah? And they're like, no, it's a la la la. And I'm like, oh, well, cool, that's awesome. You know, beautiful dog. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
Go.
and we're not that friendly, so they were probably like, "Why is she talking to me? Like I'm walking over here." Um, So one thing about New York, we're always in a rush, right? Like, so I was just thinking that earlier. I was watching a documentary, something about how like the men that made America, whatever that is. I said this place must have gold underneath the floor because we're always running. Like we're always running for something. We're always like looking for money, running for a job, running for a hustle, running like it's always something here. We never stay still.
I wanted to be like, you know, I don't know why you're feeling superior over there. Yeah, you may have a Louis Vuitton bag, but open it up. There's a bag of dog shit in there.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I had that conversation with a lady on the bus. I'm gonna get on the bus. She got her beautiful bag sitting on the chair. I said, lady, that bag did not pay for the seat. Like you did not swipe 2 times to get on the bus. Move the damn bag. What's wrong with you? You know?
You know,
Um,
until Louis Vuitton is here to claim the seat himself,
yeah,
put
he
your
was
bag in your
there.
lap, right? No,
He
that's
said,
funny.
Louis, look, I'm gonna stay here. You stand up top. I said, now get up. Like we're not. You're gonna get up.
That's great. I love it. I love it. I also committed I guess a restaurant faux pas in New
Yeah.
York. So I love the Korean barbecue. I
Oh, my son loves that.
love, yes. But down, I've been
Yeah.
here in North Carolina. I've been, several times. And so after our great excursion, all night at Flex NYC, the next day, my cousin and I were like, let's go have the Korean barbecue. So we go and they seat us at the table, and they brought out a small plate of something. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't meat. It was one of like the vegetable types. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm hungry, so I'm going to go ahead and put some of this on the grill. So I do. I put some of it on the grill. Well, then the waitress comes back and she's very irritated with me. Like you can tell her body language was very upset that I had besmirched the grill. And I thought, well, I don't know why it matters. I mean, I'm going to be cooking on the dang thing in a minute anyway, but okay, whatever. If, you're not ready for me to do that, okay. But she literally like removed the stuff that I had on the grill, put it in the thing, then got tongs and removed the grill and makes this big sort of dramatic production about doing it and then puts a new one down. And I'm like, okay, all right, G, I'll wait till you let me know I can hit the button. But can we do it soon, please? Because I'm really hungry. So then she brings back the big tray of the meat, and she sets it down and she starts loading up, the grill. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. They get you started before they turn it over to you. And then she keeps cooking and she keeps cooking. And somewhere along the way, I realized, oh, it's not like it is in North Carolina. Like down here, we cook our own. They don't have somebody cooking for you.
No, we over here we cook our own too. I don't know what restaurant you went to. Or she
It
was
was in Manhattan.
no, but Manhattan has a lot of restaurants. So I don't know if she was a little upset because whatever you did with the grill. But my son, he must have been Asian in another life because he always loves he loves this type of food.
Yeah.
So for all his birthdays, we take him and they bring you the tray of meat and we sit there and we cook it ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I guess this particular one
Yeah.
is Hootie Tootie, right? And
Yeah.
so they do it for you. But I didn't know that going in. Like if I went to like a full-on Japanese hibachi with the big grill,
Uh-huh.
I would no more put, food on the grill. I would not be cooking food on the grill waiting for the chef. You know what I'm saying? Like I would
Yeah.
not do that. That's his grill. I'm not gonna mess with it, right?
Yeah.
But I guess, like this, I just assumed I was cooking, right? But she was deeply offended because I was like cooking on her grill. Oh my gosh, it was
Oh,
funny.
that is so funny.
And then when I finally figured out, oh, no wonder she was so irritated with me. She's like, what is wrong with this chick putting food on my grill? This is not how we roll here.
Oh man, you had an experience to talk about us. You sure did.
I did. Oh my
I love your
gosh.
accent. It came across when you were saying something, like the southern part came across, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Oh my goodness. It was really a lot of fun. It was a wonderful, wonderful visit. And I can't wait to come back up. New York is a great
Yeah,
place. It's a great
it is.
place.
It's very diverse. You will have such a different experience every time you come.
Yeah, my cousin asked me, he said, so what do you want to do while you're here? I said, I want to eat. He's like, okay, what do you want to eat? I said, I want to go to every ethnicity, all the
Yeah,
ethnicities of food that I can't get at home. Like I want to embrace that. I want to lean into that, while we're
yeah.
here. And just good stuff.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad.
I almost got to go to my first drag show. I'd never been to a drag show before. Tried to go, and we got to the bar late, and we did not get to see it. But I was very close.
Ah,
I was very close. So still
man.
have that on my bucket list.
It's still on your bucket list. Good. That means you have something else to do when you get here.
Yes, yes, for sure. And one of those little the the bike, I guess it's like a bike carriage thing, and they play disco music.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know what those are called, but I really want to do one of those. I think that looks fun.
Oh, that's cool. You should. We have one over here that he has all these neon lights on his little food cart, right? And he plays the music, and all the kids that come out like it's Mr. Softy. Like you, I don't know if you guys have Mr. Softy over there or what ice cream truck you have. So he plays his music and everybody is running like, oh, let me get two of this, let me get two of that. But really, tourists, they'll come and they'll take pictures and like, like it's a whole experience. Like it's so cool. Like, you know what I mean?
I love that.
And
Okay, when I come back to New York, you and I are gonna rent the disco wagon and we're gonna go ride around.
all right, that sounds good.
We're
That
gonna we're gonna
sounds
paint the
good.
town with the disco wagon.
We'll do that, and I'm a foodie, so wherever you want to eat, I want to eat too. I love to eat.
I will go offend the chef anywhere you want to.
All right, we'll do that.
All right, so before we close this out, we got to have some more poetry from you. What else do you want to lay on us before we close out?
All right, Lord. I don't find that I got the strength needed to represent a survivor I don't know. I mean, I spent long years in search of myself. Depression had me and then covered me in the smallest of things. A right thigh sworn to a father for a man I should have never introduced my body to. Forgive me, for I still come broken, too shattered to hold, and though I'm a poet, I may fail to explain all the ways my light has become heavy when distance became unanswered loved ones. And I saw them. I saw them when they were leaving, but it was hard to say. I know I should be over this by now. I was just a kid, uncomfortable in a growing part, but sometimes I still can't find the words. A hello is too heavy to hold, and I don't want him to leave, but when he ran his hand up my side, I couldn't hold back the tears. It was confusing. I get it. It was confusing for me too. I didn't know how to tell him about the dragon, the man in the pink shorts, my tongue still baggy in these jeans. Why do you have to touch me like that for? I wanted to tell every man I ever known, but wear the face of someone else when I chose him. Because in the hood, you don't do shit like that. I was ashamed, embarrassed, angry, but I was determined. Little in my voice, I was gonna tell. I was gonna fight. To be honest, I don't know how to end this poem or how to tell a man you just had sex with why I still cry in the dark, but I do. Poem. So I messed up, but that's okay. Now I know I gotta practice that poem because there's some parts that I forgot. I don't know if you guys ever experienced that.
Well, I have a terrible memory. I can't memorize my poems to begin with. So
Oh
you're
yeah.
like 1,000 miles ahead of me on that. But it was amazing. And can you do that line again about the light near the beginning? You're talking about making your light smaller or dimmer or something. I can't remember the line, but it struck me.
Um, Lord, I don't find that I got the strength needed to represent a survivor I don't know. I mean, I spent long years in search of myself. Depression had me and then covered me in the smallest of things. A right thigh sworn to a father for a man I should have never introduced my body to. Forgive me, but I still come broken, too shattered to hold, and though I'm a poet, I may fail to explain all the ways my light has become heavy. Because we're always telling somebody we're okay, but we're not okay. We're like emotionally destroyed. We're breaking down. I'm crying on the bus. I'm trying for the people not to see me cry. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay, and do the ending again, like maybe like 4 lines into the ending, because I got to hear that last line again.
Oh, I'm not that good, so I'm gonna have to do the whole poem.
Okay, do it. Run it back. Run it back. Let's do it.
Oh, good. Maybe that gives me. I'm gonna look at my phone this time so I could actually read the right poem.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the
Let's.
part
I want
that
to hear
I
the whole thing.
missed. Let's see. So guys, I do a writing workshop. Marilee left because I think she had a long day at work, but we do every other we Sundays, we're coming back soon. We write together and just and just practice our craft. So if any of you guys are interested, hit me up and we'll send the Zoom.
I would love it. Please drop it for sure.
Perfect.
If you want
All
to
right,
take
so
a
no
sec,
electronic is working with me. It's gonna bring up every other poem except for what I'm looking for. So let's go, guys.
do you want to take a sec to like drop your Instagram and stuff like so that people can follow
Oh,
you while they're
absolutely. I
yeah.
appreciate the support. So Instagram is such a funny thing, right? So I log on and I realize I lost like 5 followers or 10, and I'm like, I don't have the time to keep up with the posts like all the time, you know what I mean? And I guess that is something that we have to do. We have to become better at promoting ourselves. So I thank you for this opportunity.
I don't do the right way with that
Okay,
myself.
so
I
that is
kind of
my
do
Instagram.
enjoy tabs. Okay, there we go. Tabs Poetry at Instagram. And that is TABSPOETRY, Tabs Poetry, no spaces at Instagram. And then is your Facebook handle the same thing?
So my Facebook handle, I had a stalker one time, right? And Facebook is so funny. They don't let you change your name more than twice.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, I am not losing all my friends and then having to find them again. So unfortunately I am tab mind you, like mind your business, because he kept bothering me. Then Facebook wouldn't let me change it again. So it was funny, like when my family started asking me, like, so why is your name like that online? And it was like, shit, what do I tell them? Like this guy, he was just like showing up at the bus stop when I was getting off from work, and it was like the most craziest thing. Like it was this, so I had to change that. So on Facebook, I am Tab mind you, and on Instagram, I am Tabs Poetry.
Okay. Instagram tabs poetry, Facebook tab mind you.
That is correct.
Fantastic.
All
Eh,
right, so let's do that poem again. It is fairly new. It is not that old neither. And I dedicated this whole set that you guys are allowing me to work on to domestic violence. So you and sexual assault. So you'll hear some of that. Thank you guys. Lord, I don't find that I got the strength needed to represent a survivor I don't know. I mean, I spent long years in search of my own self. Depression had me and then covered me in the smallest of things. A right thigh swung to a father, but man, I should have never introduced my body to. I mean, forgive me. I still come broken, too shattered to hold, and though a poet I may fail to explain all the ways my light has become heavy when distance became unanswered loved ones. And I saw them. I saw them when they were leaving, but it was hard to say. I know I should be over this by now. I was just a kid, uncomfortable and a growing part, but sometimes I still can't find the words. A hello is too heavy to hold, and I don't want him to leave, but he ran his hand up my thigh. I couldn't hold back the tears. It was confusing. I get it. It was confusing for me too. I didn't know how to say, just wait, please. I'm just battling some shit right now. Flashbacks coming, going through some stuff right now. Oh man, the way you touched me. I'm battling myself right now. I usually do a good job at pretending to be strong, but my heart still waits to breathe. I was 19, wanting to be touched by a man but being scared to be touched by a man. I couldn't tell him about the dragon, the man in the pink shorts, my tongue still baggy in these jeans. Why did he have to touch me like that for? I wanted to tell him, man I haven't known, but wear the face of someone else when I told him. It's in the hood. You don't do shit like that. I was ashamed, angry, embarrassed, but little in my voice, I was gonna tell. I was gonna fight. The truth is, I don't know how to end this poem or how to tell a man I just had sex with why I still cry in the dark. But I do. Oh,
I don't know how a man I just had sex with that I still cry in the dark. Like that is that's intense.
thank you guys. It was uncomfortable, like growing. If anybody, I know this is personal, but if anybody has been sexually assaulted when they were young, you 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 have a battle, like, because you want to be touched again, you want to have sex, you want to, like, you know what I mean, but then sometimes a touch will remind you of a certain thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to tell him because you don't want to tell people, like, you know what I'm saying. So I was like, oh, how do I tell this guy? And like, how do I expect him to understand why I'm being emotional right now? Because I'm such a person that feels like I gotta, like, hold some shit together, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, so it's a battle within yourself. It definitely is.
Yeah. I yes. Yes, it's a struggle. I think that it's a very hard space a lot of times for men to understand. Not that a lot of men don't go through their own version of sexual assault and sexual abuse, but
Yes.
it's the experience of being female and going through that. I think is maybe a little bit different, separate but equal. Theirs is just as traumatic. It's just a different way.
There's this young poet, he's a Spanish man. He talks about being sexually assaulted, but he talks about it in a way where it was it was like a ball, like he was playing basketball or catch or something. And his metaphorics are so intense, but you can tell that, in his journey he was sexually assaulted, and how he's pushing the attacker away through the ball, like, and how he's just like throwing it at the wall, and how it just keeps going back, but he doesn't know how to say, I don't want to catch this ball no more. Like, it's like, I don't know, but it was such an amazing journey to see, to hear a man express what happened to him also, and to hear, like, how he put his own spin on speaking about it. And because men are not taught, to be vulnerable and emotional in front of women, and especially in front of large audiences. So when he did, he captured the whole room. There you could hear a pin drop, because it was like he brought everything to that stage, you know what I mean? And that's the beauty of spoken word, because you get to see somebody's body language. You get to see him, like, fighting with that journey with the ball, and, like, it was like, it's like almost like going to a play when you're going to see a good poet, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yes.
so much in tune, and I thought he did an amazing job. But yeah, it's hard to talk about.
I hope that we will evolve a few more steps, and that it will become more normalized for men to share their experiences,
Yes.
because they need that ability to purge those things just like we do.
Yes, absolutely. Where it is more acceptable for a man to express his hurts,
Yeah.
his fears, his traumas, You know what I mean? Um, and it'll be better for us too. So where we see like, look, that man has been hurt too. He's going through something too. He had to overcome something too. And yeah, I support. That's why I love poetry. Like we just be dumping shit on each other. Like, hey, this is what happened to me. You deal with it. You know?
It's funny though. Somebody was in a room the other day and said they were struggling with the aspect of trauma dumping as they referred to it. And I guess they felt like that the individual speaking some of the poems were sort of like blowing up whatever the issue is to sort of make it more dramatic, you know, like maybe not exactly relaying the real story of how whatever it was happened, but just blowing it up for cinematic effect on stage kind of thing, and that was really like triggering her, and I thought, I don't know exactly what to think about that. Let me scratch my head on that one because on the one hand, I think you should have space to spit your poem however you need to, and that whoever's in the room, if it's not something they want to hear, then that's okay. You don't have to hear it. You are free to leave, And then on the other side, I also have empathy. If you're hyping a poem solely for effect,
Yeah.
then that I think takes me personally a little way beyond the place where I can completely hold space for you. I can hold space for you 100 if you are being sincere about whatever your emotions are.
Yeah.
Whether I agree with it or not, whether I like it or not, I can hold space for you to express yourself as long as you're being sincere. But at the point where you're trying to blow it up, to make a point or win a slam or whatever, that's where I'm like, I don't know that I can take that part of the journey with you.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. I feel that someone should have 1,000% creative, the creative right to express themselves. And sometimes it may come off in a way in a poem that someone did not express in regular life, because even when like you're at work, you can't express yourself the way you want to, you know what I mean? In your head you're like, I want to curse this boss out, like, this is a whole different process here than what you're allowed to do. And especially if this thing that happened traumatic to when you were young, you didn't have the freedom to express yourself the way that you wanted to. So doing that in a poem, I think is 1,000% okay. But I'm with you. If you're lying about it, no, I don't even want to hear that. Because now you're taking away from somebody that actually went through that experience.
Right.
And it was not a joke for them. It was not okay. So for you to just do something, and I'm like that about posts too, like this whole thing on Instagram, like some people just say things just to say it to get some likes, and I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
But if that's really how you feel or you went through that, so express it the way you want to express it.
Yeah. 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 I think I can hear just about anything and be okay with it if I know that they're speaking their heart, they're speaking their
Yeah.
truth. You know, I but if they're just blowing it up, yeah, no, I don't. No, I won't say that I can't get down with it, but my tolerance for certain subject matter would be less.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
So, all right. So we have come to the end of the interview. Are there any final thoughts you would like to leave us with before we sign off?
No, I want to say, whoever Martin is, thank you for staying for the whole show. I
Yes.
appreciate your support. I want to tell you, ladies, thank you for the opportunity that you give to others. This space is amazing. I love your backdrops. I know Thomas or Catalyst, one of you guys is on it. Like, I love this creative stuff. You did it. Go ahead.
Well,
You
Thomas took your flyer this year. He's like, Tab, oh, like, can I do it? I was like, you can do it. He was so excited. Like,
I love you guys' creativity. I love how passionate you guys are about poetry. Whisper, I think you did an amazing job interviewing. You are very precise with questions. I have not done an interview like this in some time. I think you're really, really dedicated to your craft and your commitment. You bring a lot of personality to it. So I thank you guys for this space and even for allowing me to talk so long.
Well, thank you. And I really appreciate that you gave Martin flowers. We always try to like point out like Martin, I'm gonna point it out again. Thank you. He's here. He's been to every single one.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so like multiple gold stars for Martin.
Yes.
Yes. All right, my love. Thank you so much. Everybody, this has been The Heart of the Artist. We have had an incredible conversation with Tab. Please check her out, Tab's Poetry on Instagram, no spaces, no punctuation, Tab's Poetry. And then Tab Mind You on Facebook. Check her out. You've seen, she's the real thing. She's dope, and we love her.
Thank you.
And
Bye, guys.
until next time.
Amen.